Hi, everybody. Uh, I- I'm doing this because it's relatively brief, and I know this is strictly an online course. So, uh, effectively, all I wanted to do is go over some of the mechanics that are involved in the course. And the first comment is, uh, and I tried to put that into the syllabus, which I emailed to you, is that for the longest time, or the last two or three times we've taught this course, Dr. Buxton and I taught it together. However, uh, his schedule, both of our schedules are very busy, but his is particularly busy and he is unable to do it. But he'll be available to me with questions regarding the physics aspect, which is really his purview. And I can do all of obviously the biological aspects that are involved in this combination because it's radiation and biology, of course. So it's only I hate to phrase it that way, but it's a 2 credit vehicle, and it lends itself very well to online. We've done these presentations, we've recorded them, and I'll explain to you what's involved. So allow me to go over that, and we'll look at the website at the same time, and we can also look at the syllabus as well. So I should have cooked that up for you initially, but I'm happy to do so now with regard to this thing. And here, we'll just look at this first, and I'll just you'll be looking at my screen here, and here, and Dr. Buxton recorded this. And there's nothing really overly specific with regard to this thing: biological effects of ionizing radiation, how to reduce them, uh, typical practices, and he goes over some of the regulatory aspects that are there. And you can see that I've amended it so it's my office hours. And certainly we can continue to use this particular site if you want to meet virtually, because I have it there and it's easy enough to find a way to log on to it. And on my on-site hours are typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 10 and 12 to 1, subject to change, but you should please contact me because who knows exactly where it is. This is a readily available textbook on Amazon. There's a lot of older copies that are out there. Uh, it's relatively old, to tell you the truth. I mean, we're you know it's prior to the, I think, 1998 off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. It's upstairs, and the typical grading stuff. And this is really what we do: is we go over, and I start with, and we would alternate weeks. I, I, we'd have 2 lectures a week, but effectively, and that's the way you'll see some of this already put together, at least on my part. So you'll have cell biology for him, and he'll start talking about the radiation aspects. I'll talk about responses. He'll talk more about specific effects on the tissues. Okay. Uh, and you can see, and when I say the radiation pathology, and I apologize for this being a little out of sequence, but he's looking at pathological. I'm looking at cell and tissue responses. And now we're looking at what happens on a total body basis. He's looking at late effects, etc. You get the idea. So the mechanics are such: there's really 5 components to the grading, as you will see: a midterm and a final, which are online, and they're roughly 40 objective questions each, relatively easy for you to take and submit, and then we will not we, but I will grade them appropriately. That's not a difficult task to do. There are 2 case studies and a YouTube presentation. That's it. That's involved. So roughly, with regard to this, let's say approximately 14-week schedule, 20% on the midterm, 20% on the final. Each of the case studies that you'll be doing, one is more biologically oriented, one is more radiation oriented, and we each have to give you the information that's available on the site, which we'll look at shortly. And to record a YouTube presentation, it's very easy to do. You probably have done it already. And the way I always frame it is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. When it comes to technological stuff, all you have to do is you can record the presentation on anything like I'm doing now on a Google Meet site, and it's extraordinarily easy to just convert it to YouTube and then make it available and embed it and send it, or post it, however you want to do it. So you can see the 40 multiple choice exams, the case studies. Well, and he used the word elucidate, I didn't. Aspects of the material as they apply. Presentation, virtual presentation, that the topic should be decided ahead of time, and we upload it to YouTube. And then all the other, these are the typical university policies that are there, all the stuff that you typically see there. This last portion that you'll see on all of your syllabi, I'm sure, was a required syllabus statement, and it applies to both. Much of it applies, this is all modalities, so it's online or offsite or virtual as well. And this is the on ground or hybrid, which we did a while ago, where we had partially on ground and partially online. And you can look through all that stuff that's there. And so that's all part of the process, which brings me to our discussion, or at least my presentation of the website. So you can see the names are here, and I just sent you an email, as you hopefully received, or whenever you're taking a look at it, just prior to this, to let you know that, given the weather and what we have to be doing today, is I'm at home today, and I said I'm only on campus Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So it you can judge by how whatever is convenient for you. I know and that was the difficulty trying to put this together. Everybody's got different schedules and different times that they do these things, and particularly as you go along in school, it's like that. So this is really the start here of the website. There's really not much here until, and normally it would start, and particularly for anyone who's having before, I typically go week 1, week 2, week 3. For some reason, it started at week 11. I don't know why it did it, but this is where it started. So you scroll over and you'll see we have the week 1 outline is really why it came to it with week 11. And here you can see I've created a YouTube lecture, probably covering a lot of the same things that I'm doing now. And then a second lecture. And most of this is basic biological concepts, as you can see. So if I'm sure you all had anatomy and physiology, and a lot of this is taken directly from the anatomy and physiology. I basically narrate over the PowerPoints and try to emphasize the points that are important. So particularly here, we're looking at the molecular aspects of water, and you have access to those PowerPoints, which have been uploaded, and many of you have them, hopefully from anatomy and physiology, where I look at, basically, I'm looking at the mechanics of the cell, and then specifically here, the number D is all about what's called the cell cycle, and that's extraordinarily important. That's really the crux of this, because the cell cycle is dedicated to really understanding what we're focusing on here, mitosis, reproduction. And it's all about that. Cells that the more that they undergo mitosis, the more rapidly they replicate, the more problems we have with them vis-a-vis damage. Those are the cells that lead to cancer. And to some extent, a lot of it, the way we have to treat these is by applying specifically radiation, as you are all aware of, as well as chemicals and things. It's just going to basically look at the radiation effects on certain kinds of cells. And you'll see number one in the hit parade when you get to it are, and if you remember this from anatomy and physiology, good for you, they're called the crypts of Lieberkühn, and they're found in the small intestine, which is a very, very large structure with regard to its surface area, and there's just untold millions and billions of these crypts, and they all get clobbered by radiation. So that's where you find all that material. So there's your basically the first week's lectures. As we move on, and you can see how he's looked at some of those things that are there, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc., etc. So remember what we did. So I'll reverse back and see where we go, and you can see as we go down here, you'll see more of the stuff that's coming in, that's being brought to you. And so as we go to, so basically this is week 2 followed by week 1, and now you can see some of the materials. Now Dr. Buxton is gifted in his ability to work with computer presentations and modifications that are there, and how he's put them together. And he'll give you, which I do not, series of questions that are there. And as you can see, he shared them with me. And go look through all of these different aspects of it. And hopefully you're more familiar with it because it's physics. And for those that have me, realize I don't do physics. Just saying. And so, and again, now we're going back to me here. You can see more of the cell cycle and what I have used. And you may, and if you're doing presentations, you may want to use them too. And I give you the resources for it and the information. This is now we're talking more specifically about tissues. And I use a lot of this, which is called SlideShare. And there's a lot of available materials with PowerPoints online. And if you get to the point where you're doing presentation, you want to use one yourself, please do so. So I'm just trying to give you the mechanics of all of these things as we go through them. And so this is, and for all I know, we might even be down here like yours. That was my week 3. So so you could use either one of these because apparently every time we reproduce it, it gives us another, just the way this has been put together. And you can see the week 4, and this again, these were 2-day units, and he's looking specifically at different types of rates of mitosis with vegetating cells and those that differentiate and those that don't. And I'll comment on all of those, etc., etc. And again, now we're getting more into the specifics. Now we're starting to look into the kinds of tissues. We're looking at different kinds of curves that are there. So, and just follow along. And eventually, you will get everything done. When it comes to test time, I'm not quite sure how we distributed it, but I will review that. I know that we have all that information, and I probably will end up sending them to you or somehow incorporating them in the context of this. Because when you do this kind of a thing, I'll see if it's on here. For those unfamiliar with it, you can get down to test surveys and pools, and I do not know if they're preloaded or not. No, I'd have to add one to it, and that's probably what I will do. Probably have a test that I'll import, or I will just send it to you, so we could incorporate it into the Blackboard. But more often than not, we just basically send you the test, and you are able to answer it, return it to us with the answers highlighted, and I said I will grade them. If there's any question I have on any of the questions that are more that have come from Dr. Buxton, I'll consult him directly. And the same thing for the final, and then we get down to the YouTube presentations, etc., etc., etc. So, and I'm just want to take a look at this, and he has put in with the type R. Yeah, okay, approximately 10 minutes. Upload to YouTube. Presentation, so you should use presentation software, Google Slides, etc. Whatever you want to use. Effectively, I just basically do it from the Google Meet site when I do this stuff, etc., etc. So have fun. And then this is the rubric that he's created, and we'll certainly employ that. And here has how to upload the YouTube video, bit more on the presentation, and this is just a reiteration of what was there before. All right, that's basically everything. The point that I would emphasize with all of these things, and I really think it's critical for understanding, is I come from an age where we didn't do any. There was nothing. There was no online, so there were no online sites. The difficulty, I think, when you're doing material like this at home, although you're from a generation, and recently because of COVID and all the lockdowns, have become very accustomed to this, is I know you have other courses to do, and again, it's quote only a 2-credit course. Is you just get it done, go through the stuff, lock yourself away for an hour, maybe less. All you have to do is go through or listen to these videos with whatever you're doing. Take a look at some of the material in the book. That you can find. Again, you can probably find that radiation biology book. I would see comparatively inexpensively. Let's see if I can find it. It's so tiny. You can see there's a lot of these that are there. Go back and take a quick look see. Just to give you an idea. Perimeter of Medical Radiobiology by Troy. Okay. Aha. 1989. I was wrong. Okay. As you can see, by use for 1685 prime. So 607 free shipping. I'm sure used acceptable. For those that don't know me, uh, my wife and I both have. My wife has an online business that I obviously assist with, and you can find these great. Okay, all sorts of places. Used means it's going to have underlighting and highlighting. Acceptable means pretty well beat up. All those types of things that are there. You can see all of these different sites there. So for $6 and free deliveries, I mean, they're basically giving it away, because if you're mailing a book like that, it costs about $4 on what's called medium mail, and it takes about a week to get there. But not because, as you can see, this one will be coming in. Today's the 16th. Okay, Prime is much more expensive because there's additional fees that are structured with when you buy something Prime. So you can get your hands on this cheap as chips. You might as well, when you're done with it, if you feel like keeping it, keeping it. If not, throw it away because no one else will buy it. It's just saying, but it has some useful stuff that's in it. And I think that's everything I have to share with you today. So please feel free to get in touch with me. I don't mind. Okay, not at all. So I think it's really important that if you have any questions or anything, or you want to clarify something, and even if it's a physics oriented or truly radiation oriented question, I will be glad to get you the right answer from Dr. Buxton. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you all either virtually or on site, or stop by the office and just tell me who you are. And if you're going to email me, just let me know that you're in the rad bio or the nuclear med course, whatever you want to call it. Thanks again. Bye bye.